2. Let's remove that one. There we go. Welcome back to part 2. That's right. Part 2 of this networking. How much has changed over the past 5 years? How much has stayed the same? So yesterday we were looking at a couple of things. I think really what stood out to me, was the fact that you get a chance to know who you're talking to much easier, but not just as a one-on-one basis, but who in the entire group. When you attend one of these Zoom meetings or whatever digital platform that it is, you can take a screenshot. This way you have the information on everybody. And you also can take a look in that chat room and see who's there. And while that's going on, you can then go on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and you can look up these folks and see who you want to start a conversation with. Maybe they make it really super easy. Maybe you can make it super easy when you're in that chat room. Hey, Brian Cohen, strategies of success, host podcast, interested, or call me, or just host podcast, and put down your LinkedIn page. And then there on your LinkedIn page, if they're interested, they'll go to your LinkedIn page, or if you've generated some curiosity, they can then pull up the rest of the information, including whatever your call to action might be. So you could do that. Now, flip side is you could take a look there. So remember, it's going to be really important, though, because your digital image, not your virtual image, but your digital image is the one that's talking for you. Your digital presence, probably a better way of phrasing that. What you have on your LinkedIn page, your Facebook page, wherever you want to send them. That's going to be the key thing. Maybe it's a website that you have. You can do that. And do it. Send them directly to the page that is most important. If you're sitting out there selling a product, you might want to send them right to the product page. If you're at a networking event, I'm not too sure I'm crazy about that. If it is anything else and you want to build that relationship, that about section, and your about might have some information in there that's a little bit more than just your bio. Maybe you have 2 different sections over there. Your short one about you, what gives you credibility, a little bit longer about aimed more to people that are referral partners, and maybe a little bit more on another paragraph that's aimed more toward potential customers. It all could be there. Think of that as your elevator pitch. You know that 30-second elevator pitch? Well, now it could be a lot more than 30 seconds. Maybe you could have 3 about pages if you want, and break it up like that. But whatever it is, keep it simple. Definitely keep it simple. So I think big difference between 5 years ago is when I recorded that blog talk show, but pre-COVID versus post-COVID. In other words, when we were doing purely in-person events versus a mixture of digital events and in-person events, and whatever you attend going forward on digital events, that stuff is going to be really super important. All right, what else did I have to say a couple of years ago? Let's see how it goes. So we'll continue on our path over here to see what was mentioned. So let's go back here. I was about 19 minutes into it. It's a 31-minute thing, so we'll go through it kind of quickly.
And that's probably the most important thing with so many businesses is being sincere.
Sincerity is what we were talking about.
We really don't get a chance.
So we're picking up on sincerity. That is one thing that has never changed, never will change across the board. Never will, unless, especially in networking events. Maybe you got a product that's absolutely brilliant and you're a whomever. But even that does not work. You, especially if it's your product. Yeah, sincerity is there. All right, let's continue on. May we?
Yes, to kind of network, too much, with different people, because it's not set up as just a general networking event. Some of these, if you go to presentations, let's use that as the example. If you go into a presentation, it could be the same kind of thing. You tell people that you want to meet, that you've been talking to, that you're going to someplace that you can go, and maybe give a chance at the beginning during cocktail hour or whatever, to go and speak to the different people. But, those things are good, and they're good for what they are. It's a different kind of networking, though. You're really not going to spend a long time talking to somebody at a cocktail hour, that's only a half an hour long or an hour long prior to an event, because you're really there more so about the event. So my suggestion on that would be to find out what it was about whatever the particular event is that drew them to it, and that could tell you an awful lot about them. And then the idea was, you get the cards, and then you could follow up afterwards and to kind of talk to them about the speakers and give them, your opinion, listen to their opinion as to whether or not they hit the mark as to what that person was expecting or not.
Boy, that's still super easy to do, right? Just in a private chat, to somebody in there that you might want to start a conversation with. And realistically speaking, you could start a conversation with every one of the people that are there. Timing has to work, but every one of the people that are there and go from that. Because if anybody else downloads that chat, they would never know. That stuff is private. But I actually don't suggest doing that. Take the time in the beginning, see who's there, show up early like you normally would, and then go take a quick look to see what their backgrounds are and kind of break it apart right then and there. Hey, do I want to start a conversation with you now? Little quick conversation there, set up an appointment for later, or just take the screenshot of everybody there and really go on and deal with it in a couple of days. Let's continue on here. Back to.
And then now you have that common ground on the whole thing because the two of you had the same or had somewhat of a similar reason for attending that event, but you both went to that event. And that's certainly something important to do. But no matter how you're going to meet these different people, keeping track of where you met them, keeping track of what their focuses are, what their challenges are, what you found to be interesting about them is really important too, because when you go back and meet with them again, you want to pick up that conversation pretty much, where you had left off. So treat them and your networking like you would when you're prospecting. If you're sitting down with a potential client across the table from them and you allowing them to talk about what their needs are, what they're going through, why they were interested in having you come in, you're going to take all kinds of copious notes on that one. Whether you can do it right at that meeting or when you get in your car, you get a chance to kind of get those notes down. This way you know and remember and have it as part of your records as to what they were looking for. Same kind of thing when it comes to networking. The better you can do with those notes, the better it is. So, this is the one thing that personally frustrates me. You take somebody's card and it's glossy on the front and back, and you can't write notes on it. And like, if your card is that way, when you get new cards, glossy on the front, all fine, but let it be a card people can write on the back of it. This way they could jot down their notes there as to whatever it was that attracted them to you or whatever they found fascinating with it. You want to make it easy for people to understand and to keep their records going forward with you.
All right, so let's talk about that one. Okay, first off, a CRM system is always best. All right, let's just find a product in there. Should be some CRM system. This way, we can email everybody, categorize them as you go through: prospect, client, referral partner, people I met at whatever. You can break it apart a million and one different ways. You ever want to know about that? You speak to Sue Glenn. She's constant contact. She'll be able to set you up a million and one different ways in order to properly set up the proper email and the tagline and when to send it, how to track it, all the rest of that kind of stuff. But let's just talk about the networking event. All right, taking notes, much easier to take notes. You got yourself a little whiteboard. I got myself a whiteboard that I use. I got it hanging on the wall over here, and I just make my notes on that one. So if you write it up here, people see that. But you write it down here, yeah, nobody will see that. And you can make notes on people or just jot down the names of everybody that are there and a little scribble next to their name as to either what they do, call back, mention they love animals or their volunteer time or whatever it might be that catches your attention. So that's one thing. Or you can exactly just break open an email or a Word document or whatever and just write it up on there. I just find for me, I think typing while I'm on a meeting gets a little too much because one, it looks like I'm typing, and if I don't turn off the microphone, you can hear me type, and that's not good. And if I turn off the microphone, it just looks like I'm not listening. So I use the whiteboard. That's my little trick. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right, I just told you. It happens. It happens. And remember, Thursday morning, 9 o'clock at Small Business Development Center, Zoom meeting. I'll be talking about these things again. So I just want to go through this here, do the long version, and that'll be the crib note side of it, because I got about 10 minutes on that one. All right, let's continue on our quest here.
And it makes life easier. I've certainly collected cards where you just can't write on the back of it. It becomes hard to do.
The glossy card background.
Down there, and you get home or a day later, you're not really sure what you're following up on. Which is probably a big thing too. It is a big thing. Following up. I don't know what the statistics are, but it's a big one about most people don't follow up. If you're not following up with people, even if it's just a minor follow-up, hey, it was a pleasure meeting you at the event. Look forward to seeing you again at something, or in the future. If you don't follow up, and they are actively networking, actively meeting different people, they're going to fall by the wayside really fast. And you don't want to do that. Because if most people don't follow up, you're now going to be able to separate yourself from everybody else too, if you do. And it doesn't take much. All it takes, hey, it was a pleasure talking to you at XYZ event. I really found it interesting when you spoke about your marketing campaign, just to pick an example. And, that is going to separate you from most people right off the bat, just by something simple, as that. And then, of course, you can say, hey, why don't we connect on LinkedIn and that kind of thing. And then, it certainly makes it much easier to keep track of people, when you're doing that. You also keep a spreadsheet or some contact system, where you have the different notes, also. But, keeping in front of different people for different reasons, is important. But it's also important not to spend time doing stuff that just doesn't make sense. So think about what you're doing from an effort standpoint, with that networking. Yeah, certainly the different events to go to.
I must have been polite. If you're not following up with people, and what the bleep are you going to it in the first place? And it's so easy to go to so many things. And what are you going to say at the end of the day? I went to 10 networking events today, never left the chair in my room, but I was all over and I met 150 people. Followed up with nobody. That's a waste of a day.
Paid and not paid. You wind up with different people for different reasons at those things. And every one of them can be made important to you and effective for you when it comes to networking if you're doing and following up with people, for one, giving them the chance to talk, because as you continue to talk, as they continue to, you're going to pick up on those key words, the key issues that they are having. And then on your side of it, it's the same thing. Don't overcomplicate your business. Don't go through every little gory detail of the business. Think of it, even if you have more than 30 seconds, the elevator pitch kind of thing. But even if you have more than 30 seconds to sit, you're sharing a cup of coffee. You don't have to rush through the whole thing, nor should you ever really rush through it. And you can go into more detail with it, and you can go into a little bit more of your why with it. But give them something that is memorable. In other words, give them something about your business that they can visualize. Because if you spit out a whole bunch of numbers and you just talk about the details of your business, that becomes something a little bit harder for them to remember. People remember photos. People remember images much more so. People also remember something you said if you can make them laugh. So that would be a nice bonus. But just go for something that's visual about the business that they can see.
All right. This one's totally different. You're at a networking event on Zoom. It's different, right? Because maybe you're in a group at a table. Chances you being able to go one-on-one in some sort of a room, few and far between. If it's speed networking, then yes, you are in a room one-on-one, but it's speed networking, right? So you got to go quickly. This is where I'm going to go back to. It's all about that digital presence. It really is. What you have behind you is going to make a big difference, because that's going to say something to you. Look, what do I got behind me over here? Besides that, I moved my tree. I got to get my tree back. I just noticed that. I got a couple of books. One of them is a Toastmaster book. You got the Take Steps flag, and other than that, not exactly too much. I got the logo up, and then the name. What can you put behind you? You could put an awful lot of things back there. If you're in a business where certification actually means something, well, put some certificates back there, trophies if that's appropriate. If you're a lawyer, I don't know about putting trophies back there. But if you really believe that sports are a big part of your life, there's a gentleman I know that with certificates would make a lot of sense, but so would trophies. And you might ask why. The guy's in his 60s because that's his hobby. That is what he does. So it's a big part of his life. Put it back there. People might ask you about that. That's part of your story. And in the about section for him, it's there. All that stuff is there. I'm a professional, blah, blah. And in my spare time, I play baseball. Okay. Same thing. If you volunteer someplace, put something up over there. That's the Take Steps banner. Now you know I'm involved with Take Steps. Do you know what Take Steps is? Maybe not, but it's a question. The point is that when you meet somebody at a network, when you're involved in a Zoom meeting, forget about networking event, a Zoom meeting, whatever it is, and there's 10, 20, 30 people on that call, you're not going around the room and having one-on-one conversations. The goal on those things is to have a one-on-one conversation at a later date. Why do I want to talk to you? Why? Why do I want to talk to you? So your background is so unbelievably important to the whole thing. It could be a green screen and you have whatever back there. Fine. But it should be a business logo that's back there. Something like that says what your business is or why you're on that call. That's going to be important. So forget about you go first, they go first, all the rest of that stuff. Doesn't mean altogether too much. It really depends upon the situation. If it's speed networking, I would still let them go first if it's possible. This way, you know exactly how you want to approach it, in that respect. But again, that's a formal kind of give and take. So that'd be pretty quick. It's not just two people meeting haphazardly type thing. But I really think that you can get the point across by using your background and also by putting in that chat room your contact information or leaving it right up on your website, Brian A. Cohen, and then you tag in your website address right there. That's where they're going to go. You put name and phone number, they're going to call you. Put name in LinkedIn, that's where they're going to go. Put name in the website, that's where they're going to go. Direct them exactly to that page, that social media platform, that website that's going to give the description of who you are, what you're looking to accomplish, who you really want to meet. And that person is going to figure out whether or not they should reach out to you based upon that. It's not based upon a conversation. It's based upon that. That has to speak for you. You want to get really creative? Make an intro video. It's pretty easy to do. You could do it professionally. You could do it like this. You could videotape yourself on a phone. Do whatever you want. But an intro video might be something for you to take a look at. That would be interesting. All right, let us move on over here and see what else I had to say that's outdated or appropriate.
Because if you're able to do that, and they can see the product, or like if you got a massage business or something like that, talk about it. We just redecorated, our entire office.
There's a visual.
We've got the nice pleasant colors. We've got the vanilla candles going.
But you show the place.
Probably put a picture together in your own mind. It may not be exactly what the room looks like. It doesn't really matter as long as it's something that they can visualize. Because as they go out and they meet different people, they may be able to refer you to them because they're going to be able to picture, and they'll remember that picture more so when it comes to explaining what it is that you do. Like I got one of our team members, is a coach. A couple of them, different coaches, and they coach in different ways, And one of them will really sit down and stay on the phone with you, and get in the car with you, Man, that's a heck of a visual, right? I mean, how many coaches that would do that? Others do webinars, same kind of thing. It's just a little bit easier for them to visualize what they're doing, and so make it easy for people, which is really the message on that one. Make it easy for people to remember and see what is that you are doing. Now, what are some of the other key factors here with networking? Obviously, if we had an image consultant on the show, today, they're going to be talking about first impressions. Well, very true, very important. First impressions are everything. So the question is, when you are at an event and you are going to any type of networking event, do you look like your business? Are you dressed in, your company colors? Is there a shirt that you have that's got a logo on it? Is there a uniform, to wear? And this guy comes to mind, always has. I met him years ago. He's a chef. So he comes to a networking event, and he's wearing a full chef outfit.
Chef Lance. Definitely a long-term impression.
I can see the image right now. All white, the coat, hat, the whole thing. Stood out like a sore thumb. But you knew exactly what it is that he was doing. But you have your company logo on your shirt if it's appropriate to the event. I've seen some company logos that look like a little overkill, we'll say. Where it's not just a company logo, it's a whole splash of different colors. All right, at some events, kind of makes sense. The big expos and that kind of thing, where everybody's trying to get attention. All right, that's a good one. That certainly is good. But if you're going to a speaking presentation, that's a little over the top. You wear your button shirt with the logo on the, on the pocket, and that kind of thing. That's fine. You got a pin that you wear, fine. All that stuff is good because just about every event you go to, you're meeting different people, so that stuff is good. But it's don't go over the top. Don't go over the top with that thing. But make sure that you are representing your company the way you should be. And if you don't know if you are, then have somebody kind of take a look at it. Go speak to an image consultant. It's there's plenty of people out there that are more than happy to give you an opinion as to what you should be wearing. So if you're
that's an understatement.
Company, you don't want to go in a button-down suit, the whole way through. That's straightforward colors. Then you want to wear something a little bit more creative. This way, it just kind of fits. It fits in with the whole thing. You're an accountant. You might want to look a little bit more accountant-like and representative of the kind of business that you do. It's just it's important because that if you're not fitting, if your visual of you is not fitting what it is that you're trying to represent, then it just doesn't really. It's not going to hit home, and maybe people remember that. The big question about ties. I don't know, going to more and more events, people are not wearing ties anymore, but, the ties were the big standout item, too. Whatever suit, sport coat you're wearing. Same thing with women, I guess, with scarves. It's a standout item. But, with the ties, it just seems to be fading out a little bit more. So they wear that tie that's a wild color. It's just not as popular anymore.
There you go. Ties aren't popular anymore. Now I wonder how many people are wearing shoes when they go to these things. We don't ask these questions, but dress code matters. It really, truly matters. And that chef, I don't know if he could be able to wear a chef hat while on camera and doing that whole thing, but there's other things that you could do. He always had the kitchen in his background. I mean, that really gets the point across. It's got to be a professional kitchen, of course, but certainly gets the point across over there. You should look. It's exactly the same thing. You should look like your business, like that story you're telling. Now you have the ability to use your background. And I know I'm saying that when ad nauseum, but you have the ability to use your background now to paint that picture. Really important.
But, networking is certainly an art. There's certainly different ways of doing that, too. And, another issue that some people tend to have is, how do you break into a conversation? And I had the honor of interviewing Ivan Meisner from B&I International. And he had also brought up, a nice way of breaking into a group of people and seeing if the group of people actually wants to actually have you break into what it is, whatever they're talking about. And it all depends on that body language. Your body language just as important as everybody else's. So when you are looking at a group, you come into an event, regular straight network.
I'm going to lower it and just keep this thing going along over here because I want to try to finish in 30 minutes. But so I interviewed Ivan Meisner. He's the head of BNI, founded the thing. So what he's talking about is if you're at an event and there's 2-3 people speaking and you want to break in, how do you know if you should break into that group or is there a better one? It all has to do with their body language. If they're keeping their bodies on a sideways bend, you could break in a little bit more. This does not matter at all, one iota, when it comes to this digital stuff. If you're at a trade show, you're in a networking room and stuff like that, you can't read body language like that. You just have to assume that everybody's there to hear everybody else's story. But that is also a bad assumption every once in a while because there's some people like to command the conversation. You know what? That's it. That's where you go take a look. See who's in the room, with you, go poke around and do that whole thing. So the body language thing doesn't matter in that respect. The body language does matter, though. It really makes a difference. Look, if I'm sitting back and I got my head like this and I got my hand like this and I'm, listening to you speak and I'm like, God, man, guy's bored to tears. If you got your head down, well, you're either asleep or you're taking notes or doing something else. You're distracted. You can't look distracted. The idea of not having the camera on has to be on. The microphone gets to be a bit of a debate. If you kind of cannot, the rest of that stuff. But sit up straight, lean forward. Look, if I'm sitting here like this, it's one thing. If I'm like this, it's another. If I'm listening like this and I move in a little bit, and I get the head tilt going on a little bit, it really shows that I'm listening. Body language is really important. It still is. It's a little bit harder to see, especially if you've got 20 people in the same Zoom room and the rest of that stuff. But it is seen. Those that want to meet those that are actually actively engaged in it, they will notice. And if you're one that is looking for some people in that group, you get a room of 20 people, you're not necessarily going to have a conversation with everybody. You might not be able to follow up with everybody there, but you are going to try to figure out who you want to speak to there, who you want to privately chat with in the chat room and stuff like that there. That's an indication as to who is really engaged in that topic, that speaker, the event, and that kind of thing. Look for body language.
Follow up on it. How many times did you take to follow up with the people that you meet at an event? Depends, of course, on how many people that you meet, but you still got to get their cards into your system. Maybe you scan it, that's a great thing. Then you got to edit it, make sure it's all right. Then you want to send them an email, and you want to send them a personalized email. And then if they respond back to you, there's a conversation going on there. It's hours, too. Good time spent, but it's hours also. So you got 8 hours at the event. You probably got another 8 to 10 hours following up and developing that relationship with people. You could be at 20 hours right off the bat. That's a part-time job. That's a part-time job on top of everything else that you're doing. Using your time effectively when it comes to networking is the key to the whole thing about making networking fun, not a job. If it becomes a job, you're going to lose your enthusiasm for it. You are then going to be seen as someone that's not enthusiastic. You're going to be seen as someone who's not really enjoying what it is that they're doing. People want to work with those that are having a good time, people that are excited about what they are doing. Keep that excitement going by limiting, you always want to leave an audience wanting more. Well, same thing holds true with you. When you're going out and networking, leave yourself wanting to do a little bit more, because then when you go to those events, you're going to be more excited about it. And when you go to those events, you're going to use your time effectively. Look for the groups that are inviting for you to come in and speak with. Look for the people that are consistent with what they are doing and what they are wearing, and then are not over the top or completely understated either. Those people may be new to networking. You want to help them out a little bit. I think that's a beautiful thing. Look for those that make the most amount of sense for you and decide for yourself, am I going there to do business? You shouldn't, I'm not a big fan of that. Are you going there to meet people to hear their stories where you possibly could do business with them in the future if your company meets their needs? Or you're looking to refer people to others? This way is someone who is a perfect prospect for you because you are now providing value in a way that they will remember. And that is truly the key to good networking. It's helping other people because they will in turn help you. That is what it's all about when it comes to networking. Find the balance, make it work for you. My name is Brian Cohen, and this is Strategies of Success. And I am always thrilled to do these programs with people. I got to go figure out the new program, and who knows, I may even switch this over to the Long Island Speakers Bureau because that more is the brand and the company and what I am super excited about helping people tell their stories, getting up on stage, and sharing 3 actionable ideas with the business community that people could use today. That is what it's all about. If you'd like to be a guest, let me know.
All right, there you go, my friends. That's the story on the whole thing. So, yeah, and by the way, what I said there is true. Long Island Speaking for Strategies of Success has always been the company. Long Island Speakers Bureau, part of it, and where we're at right now is using that name, Strategies of Success. The Speakers Bureau, part of it, working with just the professional paid speakers on those events. The other idea helping you communicate is through strategies and podcast services and stuff like that. Why? Because we all need to change, don't we? We definitely need to change, and that's a big part of it. So what I was talking about there, though, is if you had a table at a networking event and you were collecting cards, or you went to an event and you were collecting cards and the rest of that stuff, you got to put the cards into a system and all the rest of that. That's gotten a lot easier because you're not collecting cards. You're now collecting names. You collect the names, you go to their LinkedIn or Facebook page, you pull up the email address, you got it. Unless they were kind enough to put the whole contact information over there, you download the chat room and you got it. Maybe you did take a table. Look, I at the last networking event, a couple of the digital networking events, I got the list of all those that attended my booth, that came into my booth, my digital booth. If you walked into the booth or digitally walked into the booth, your name was now a part of the record, and that was it. I had it. I had all the information. So collecting information got a lot easier with digital. Getting people to your booth, that became a little bit more difficult. That I think will change. That's a whole nother topic about how to be effective at a digital trade show. How do you be effective when it comes to networking at these different Zoom events, at these online events? Got to understand the one big thing that's really the biggest change of them all is the fact that your digital presence is doing more of the talking for you than you are. Think of it as a referral partner, somebody that's going to talk for you when you're not there. That's a good thing, right? Is that a bad thing? It's a good thing. You're not totally in control of the message being delivered because it's on your social media sites, websites, the rest of that. You don't have to rely on somebody else. Negative side of it doesn't have as much emotion. Oh, you got to speak to. You can't write that on your website. Oh, you got to speak to me. That's a little crazy. But what you can do a video, make it a little bit more exciting that way. So collecting names gotten a lot easier. Attending events has gotten a lot easier. Attending the right events is still an issue, but you can attend more. Got a bit of balance in there. I think time management's become more of an issue now than anything else. But the rest of the basic premise of networking has not changed. Who you should speak to, how you figure that out, that's changed. And how you could garner retention from other people, that's changed. And in my humble opinion, if you're in the right place, how do you catch the attention of people that are there too? That also has gotten easier. As long as you could speak well, speak often, and live inspired on Thursday morning, 9 o'clock. Join us at the Small Business Development Center. Love to have you attend. I'll put the link up for that one. Be great, free, good, led by Ronnie Rosen and team, and it's all there. I got a couple of there's somebody else that's speaking that day too, and it's a general monthly networking event, and you can download the chat room, and you can take a photo of everybody, screenshot of everybody's there. Very exciting stuff. Have yourself an absolutely wonderful day. We'll see you Thursday morning, 9 a.m., and that's going to be January 6th of 2022, to put a little point on that one. And we'll continue this topic, networking, digital networking. Have an absolutely fantastic day.